Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Sige po. Okay, so we'll start our class. Okay. So the title of the talk. Thank you. The title of the talk is Parents as Teachers, Teachers as Coaches, Schools as Innovation Labs, uh, or Hubs. No? Um, Hindi ko po alam kung narinig nyo na dati po kung ano po ang Innovation Lab or kung ano po yung Innovation Hub. Pero we can look at this phenomenon right now. Actually, it exists today po, yung Innovation Lab. I was also told that if you have a question, you'd like to inquire more about anything that I've said in this talk, you can message me. I now have a Facebook page because there are some people there inquiring about some ideas that I said in the talk po. And then I also have a group right now. Some very nice millennials, they are cooperating with me in trying to reach out to the teachers and the parents who are probably struggling with their new responsibilities and new challenges, to learn techniques on how to go online. But actually po, more than maybe the skills that you need to acquire for these online lessons, I give more of coaching on like a framework, a way of thinking about going digital, because we know that it's not just about tools, but going digital also entails a certain attitude po, a certain outlook towards new things, new tools, and also there's a certain lifestyle that you need to adapt to. Okay, so here's our agenda today. The new normal in education for parents at home, and also for teachers, there is this thing called blended learning. And for schools, this is actually something that I am proposing. I saw this po sa ibang bansa. May mga ibang universities na po doon, and they are defining themselves as learning hubs. So we will take a look at that in a little while. So these are basically concepts, a few concepts that I will be talking about today. So if you see there, a parent, I aligned with the word play. The teacher, I aligned with the word passion. And the school, I aligned with the word purpose. Although these three words can also be interchangeably appropriate for each of these groups of people. They assume at a certain time the role of being there for the play activities or playtime of their students or their kids, and so on and so forth. So lahat po, silang tatlo, minsan nandun sila sa play sessions or passion, encouraging their students, or they also try to coach them about purpose. So parents can also do these three, teacher, school. So there was a time I taught for a year grade 12 students on personality development. That was just a year. I tried to see how K-12 learning is in the Philippines. And I remember that the textbook, I don't know if it's a Vibal textbook, maybe it is, I don't remember now. It says that there are 5 key aspects in personality development classes for K-12. So that's the physical, the mental, the emotional, social, and spiritual aspects. These are priorities, in terms of educating K-12, especially junior and senior high school students, about what they need to take care of in their lives. How are they physically? How are they mentally? How are they emotionally, socially, and spiritually? So well, this is a webinar. I was just told, I used to give talks. We will tackle these things in a very holistic way, but I hope I do not take so much time, but we will explore all these in the course of this afternoon. So the first thing we will tackle is this whole idea I propose of parents as teachers. Okay, so I am not a parent, but I have a lot of nephews and nieces. All my life I've been teaching. So basically, all these children, all these teens, no, even older kids, they've been part of my life. No? So I've dedicated my life to teaching um, for quite some time now, and and I make sure that I am understood also by my constituents, and that they also know that I'm there for them. So I put here parents as teachers in the new normal. Why? Because, well, we know po of the changes in society today, like major changes in terms of moving around spaces or taking transportation, very basic um, uh, movements, no, or yung lifestyle po natin medyo na iba, no. So parents have become, in a way, teachers in their own homes, no. And right now, the kids at home are also trying to figure out how they can maximize their time, and also siguro po adjust, no, to the situation of having blended learning with their teachers, but at the same time their parents are also there to guide them close by, no? So niisip din po nila si mom and dad, no, or si tatay, si nanay, baka meron silang gustong itanong, but usually they consult the internet. So at home, there is the interaction of these three: play, passion, and purpose. Ang bibliography ko po dito ay si Dr. Tony Wagner pa rin. Yung na-meet ko po siya. I talked about him in the last two talks that I had on creating innovators. Yan po yung pinopropose niya. Play, passion, and purpose. So as children, you need to let them be. I like art, no po, and you see here that a child's life, is supposed to be colorful. And in the Philippines, we are very, very festive people, and that actually gets manifested in our art, our culture. So children at home should have the ambiance for being a lifelong learner. There is a lot of playing that is less structured, with much opportunity to explore, experiment, and discover through trial and error, and to take risks and fall down. There happens a lot of creative play, and along the way, they discover their passion, often as young adolescents. We let them be. Gusto nilang tumakbo, sige, takbo. Minsan, nadadapa sila, sige lang. Siyempre, tahanin natin sila. Tapos, gusto nilang magbisikleta and all that. We let them be. We try not to dampen their joy of wanting to be outdoors. Of course, right now that is suppressed because of the social distancing. But normal circumstances, a child needs to play. Now, what does this have to do with the new normal? Well, after this pandemic and its inconveniences have passed, then we can go back to these very important aspects of education, play. So these students, these children, through their interest, okay, sorry about that. It paused for a while. So ito po sa paglalaro ng mga bata, they pursue their interests. So gusto nilang mag-jackstone, or gusto nilang mag-video game, or gusto nilang sumayaw. Hayaan lang po natin sila. Especially when they're in the house right now. We shouldn't be looking at them sternly, na parang nagagalit tayo kasi maingay sila. they should just be moving around the house, no? And here they will develop new passions, which over time will go into a more deeper and more mature sense of purpose. No, if we let them be, hahanapin nila yung mga hilig nila, yung mga hobbies nila, mas lalo nilang nakikilala yung mga sarili nila. No, instead of suppressing that and maybe telling them na makulit sila. No? So, ito po, I remembered when I was a kid, we really like playing with, say, mga palayok, no? And yung mga kalan, mga ganyan, na we even buy po sa Antipolo. No? So, I remembered when I was growing up in Calamba, Laguna, my cousins and I, we would get leaves, no, and then chop them and pretend that we are actually cooking, no? And this actually helped me a lot. Helped me a lot as an artist right now. I failed to say earlier that though I've been a teacher for almost 25 years, no, I in a way have my notes from my experience and also as a learner. No? So I don't know about you po, pero I would like to think that my creativity was fashioned, no, was formed in my backyard. Looking at our kamyas tree, getting leaves from our sampaguita, bushes, no, and then pretending that mga gulay po sila. No? So the garden can also be a classroom. No? So right now our kids are there, and pwede po tayong magkaroon ng mga games, no, and fun. I would like to refer you to a site called Pinterest. No, they actually have a lot of suggestions pala po for parents and teachers. No, it's just that usually I am right now in my research and I haven't really been surfing the net a lot. But then I realized that parents have so much sources, no, for coming up with a little classroom in their homes. No? So ito po yung isa kong nakita, every day, meron pong parang activity in relation to Earth Day or in relation to plants. No? And they have this monthly. So if it's about books or maybe it's about fine motor, gross motor, food and snacks, sensory bins, meron pong mga pakulo yung parents. No? So children would like to explore their natural, discoverers. No? They're like sleuths. Pareho silang yung mga may magnifying glass, no? Si Sherlock Holmes. The kids are always full of curiosity. I remember in my last talk I mentioned that at 4 years old, they're really at the peak. No? They're at the peak of their curious selves. No? So learning should be in a fun playground. No? Children have the innate desire of human beings to explore, experiment, and imagine new possibilities. In short, that is to innovate. No? Science and fantasy, knowledge and imagination are said to be deeply different from one another. No? But actually po, sa mga bata, the same abilities let children learn so much about the world, which also allow them to change the world, to bring new worlds into existence when they combine science and fantasy, fact and fantasy. So nothing just stops them from exploring, their imagination. They imagine alternative worlds that may have never existed at all. Because children's brains create causal theories. Bakit kaya? Nag-iisip sila parate, paano kung ganito? Paano kung ilalagay ko itong red mix ng green? Ano ang kakalabasan? Paano kung lalagyan ko ng asin ang isang snail? Natatanda mo yun po yung ginagawa namin parate sa Calamba. No? When I was staying there as a child, no? We always like to kill yung mga suso. No? And then, nakikita na lang namin na they're dead, and we come up with little cemeteries for them para kung nililibing namin. And at the time, like, my imagination really just went crazy. Parang nakakatakot, mga ganyan. So, there are so many new possibilities every time for children. No? They pretend that the world is different. No? So, STEM learning, there's so much of STEM learning that they can have outdoors. So, kung hindi naman po siguro rin, kung may social distancing din naman po, let them be in the backyard. Lalo na kung nasa probinsya tayo. No? Hindi sabihin, nako, madudumihan yung bahay dahil pinasok yung tsinelas or wala siyang tsinelas. Parang minsan na ano po yung bata, no? Na nasa stifle. Parang ayaw na lang niya tuloy gumalaw kasi palagi na siyang pinapagalitan. No? Pero dapat hayaan lang natin sila. And then with just a little bit of monitoring, they should be getting by. So for example, these are 39 weeks of science that I found as a guide sa Pinterest. No? And then my notes say, all projects ordinarily result from desire. Now, the kids want to be there. And so if si nanay gusto niya magtanim ng, I don't know, sabihin niya, magtatanim tayo ngayon ng kalamansi. Ganyan. No? Tapos yung mga bata, na yung anak niya, no? Parang gusto niyang tingnan kung paano ba itong gawin. Let them. Ito po, meron pong mga suggestions dito. No? Sa first grade, for August, being a scientist, staying healthy, and then yung exploring the 5 senses. Sobrang dami pong suggestions online for parents. Kaya iniisip ko rin po na siguro kakayanin po natin yung mga panahong ito na maging guide po, no, to our children, no, in making learning fun for them. But then my notes also say that not all desires are fulfilled in projects, no, and it doesn't mean po na just because we can't be tiger moms also na saying, okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, ganito yung gagawin ng anak ko. No, kailangan din po nating pakinggan yung bata kung ano ba ang gusto niyang gawin. Baka gusto niyang sumayaw or baka gusto niyang magbasa ng libro. No? We always have to pay attention to them and listen to them. And then the next is, after play, we have passion. No? So emotions, it says here, get complex or confusing, especially if they are not given explanation. Bakit ka nalulungkot? Bakit ka naiinis? No? So minsan yung bata, gigising siya tapos parang mainit yung ulo niya. No? Sabihin, ako may sungit siya ngayon. Tapos minsan hindi ma-explain ano po. So modern life strongly incites desire, pressured by consumerism, rapid technological innovation, and personal economic progress. So minsan po marami po tayong mga tensions, no? Na, ay nako, kailangan bumili ng sa supermarket. No? So minsan po yung bata na kasi marami pong concern sa bahay. Ano po. And sila din po, parang minsan nahihirapan din. So, kailangan marunong po tayong mag-alalay. No? At yung mga bata naman, usually, our children, they're very good children. And they also want to help their parents. No? So, they usually cooperate. It's just that once in a while, they don't understand themselves. And I think we have all experienced this in our lives. No? So, for some, the satisfaction of desire is so pressing, they forget that the capacity to delay gratification is crucial for free behavior and intelligent emotional development. So minsan po, hindi sila masyado marunong mag-control ng kanilang mga sarili, lalo na po kung mga maliliit pa, 1, 2, 3, 4. Bigla na lang po silang iiyak. No? At sasabihin na, bakit umiiyak? Maingay, ganyan. No? But we also have to figure out, bakit siya umiiyak? Baka may kailangan, baka nagugutom. No? So it is in this space between the sentiments and action where personal freedom lies. No? So kaya kusapin po natin yung bata, sabihin, why are you crying? Masakit ba yung ngipin mo? No? Siguro baka gusto mo munang magpahinga. No? Kakausapin po natin yung mga bata. No? Para ganun po kasi tayo. Kailangan po rin natin maging coach. Ano po. Mamaya, I will talk about it in the teacher's part. No? So there are so many lessons on emotions that are learned during childhood years. And these are extraordinarily important. I am really not a child psychologist, nor am I I don't have masters in education, nor am I my undergraduate education. But we observe this, especially when we love children. We like being with them. This is a very concrete suggestion that I have for parents, no? Who are now becoming educators. Now, like at the very minimum, we live a bit of order. It says here that for 1 to 7-year-olds, these are actually the virtues, no, that are suggested that parents teach them. From 1 to 7-year-old, they are encouraged to be obedient. We tell them about obedience, sincerity, and order. So here is like a little schedule that is used for preschool. But then I think we can also use this in our homes, no? Na pagkagising nila, meron na silang mga chores, mga lilit na chores na pwedeng gawin pagkatapos nila mag-almusal, no? Tapos siguro po, pwede po tayong maglagay ng isang maliit na parte sa bahay natin na para pagka nakakain na po sila, hindi po kaagad-agad na baka manood ng TV or mag-video games or well, nakatulala na lang po, na parang we always also have to keep them busy. No? Why? Because as I had been saying, the years from 1 to 7 are crucial, early years of learning. Maybe we can read up on that. So you can follow po this schedule that I proposed. Here is a painting that I like of Simon Flores. And you can see here how a mother, it's a very classic Filipino painting, how a mother is able to pacify the child. You can just imagine magulo po siya. But then once the mom reads to her something, she calms down and then she listens. No? So that is actually my personal experience with my brother. No? I have a brother who's 10 years younger. 10 years, our gap is like almost like 10, 12, 10 years. And I remember reading to him soon after we wake up in the morning. No? And then we read almost like for an hour. No? And then at say 5 years old, my little brother was already very keen and interested about what he hears me say to him with drama from the book. So there is something in storytelling that actually captivates little children, and I'm very passionate about this tendency of children to listen and to imagine what they hear. So it's very abstract, but then that is the genius that is in the brain. You start to imagine things. So here are also suggestions for parents. There's a creative curriculum for preschool that we can borrow. So many groups online are just sharing their experiences. They're sharing their curriculum to everyone for free. I think mga nanay and tatay, we just really need to accept, if we have not accepted it, the fact that yun po, we really need to share in the task of education right now. No? So, siguro po, pwede po tayo magtingin sa internet. No? So it says here, goals and objectives of social, emotional development, physical development, cognitive development, and language development. At may mga suggested activities po. And then the second, I'm still with passion. So passion is actually an intrinsic motivation for doing things. No? Play is a part of human nature and an intrinsic motivation. And so we foster play because with play comes passion. So a passionate young person might not have a tiger mom, but he gives importance to putting 10 hours of work in something to achieve mastery. That is a passionate young person. Say, ay, kailangan kong gawin ito. From Steve Jobs, he said that perseverance is passion. So when we see a child, maybe ginagawa niya po yung flashlight, siguro pinagtanggal-tanggal niya po yung parts ng flashlight, tapos gusto niyang tingnan yung loob, at kung gusto niyang, siguro po gusto niyang magpaligo ng aso, siguro po these are tendencies of the child already. You see the passion towards a contraption. Maybe he's going to be an engineer, or maybe the one playing around with the dog is going to be a veterinarian. So we need to be attuned to that, to these little occurrences in the lives of our children. Very fascinating. And then with passion also comes the education of the emotions, educating the emotions of the child. It says here that passion is a sentiment that assumes complete control of a person's affective life at a given moment, pushing him with great force to act in a particular way. Desires receive energy from sentiments that accompany them. To have desires, however, is not the same as having projects. We can desire things we will never even try to accomplish. So, yung desires po ng mga bata, kailangan siguro tulungan silang i-channel yun. Hindi po masama na magkaroon ng desire, pero minsan po natutuloy yung mga gusto nilang gawin, at minsan naman po ay hindi. So, kailangan i-remind lang po natin yung mga bata na dapat hindi sila nade-discourage. And there's something beyond a failure in a project or a failure that folded up. But you see there the drive of the child to do something that he wants to do. At kailangan po nakaantabay po tayo na gabayan sila doon. So it says here that all projects are ordinarily result from desire, but not all desires are fulfilled in projects. So these are like a few questions po that I saw sa Pinterest, and it says here that we should be able to ask children open-ended questions, like just pry into their brains, no, and to see, what they really have, what they're thinking. And then you ask them certain questions like, what was your favorite part of the day and why? What makes a nice friend? Bakit ba gustong-gusto mo yung kaibigan mo na yon? No? And then you ask him, if you could go anywhere in the world, why go there? No? What do you like about your school and why? Usually po yung mga pamangkin ko, tinatanong ko sila, ano bang pangalan ng mga classmates mo? And sometimes when they don't want to tell me that, I guess. And then I say, siguro ang pangalan niya ay Nicolo. And then una ayaw niyang sabihin, but then hindi naman pala Nicolo. So, na siya, na he gets annoyed, and then after a while he smiles. So, I don't know, but we should be able to find the child in ourselves. I think that is a very key, even if we're not child psychologists, no, even if we're not really with teachers, no, mga parents. I mean, we are their parents. We should be able to know how to, get into their hearts, no, and in their brains, no. So these are just some guide questions, no, or mga titas sa mga bahay nila, no. Why? Because it's also very important for the child to speak. And then the child has to have purpose. So it's play, passion, and purpose. So what is purpose? It is the autonomy and mastery, and these are, a purpose is essential to their human motivations. Bakit mo ginagawa yung isang bagay? So it says here that young innovators may develop a passion to learn or do something as adolescents, but their passions evolve through learning and exploration into something far deeper, more sustainable, and trustworthy. This is purpose. No? Siguro po nung umpisa, nagtatanggal-tanggal lang sila ng baterya, ng flashlight. Yun pala, ang totoo niyan, nababother po sila pag minsan nawawalan ng ilaw. So gusto talaga nilang bigyan ng ilaw ang bahay na may brown out o bigla na lang nawala. No? Kunyari, nakat ng Meralco yung ilaw. So you find there already like a purpose on the part of the child, no? Like a desire, a sincere and meaningful desire to be able to solve the light problem. You know? So, or maybe a little girl who's always singing. No? And you say, bakit ba palagi siyang kumakanta? Maybe she finds consolation in singing. And later on, we realize that this child is bound for the music school. So we always have to find out like where the talents of our children are, because in those talents, in those passions, they will find what they are made to do in the world. So in the innovator's DNA is the desire to make a difference. Now, embracing a mission for change makes it easier to take risks and make mistakes. So here is my my little mentee. Well, she's no longer a mentee. I think I shared with her shared with you before her picture. That is her, Bea. And get this here. So she actually is at college right now. Oops. She's in college right now. And I told you that she won a scholarship in education. This is Bea. And she is very passionate about reading. She loves to write poems. She watches movies, but I usually remember that she asks me for titles of books. So she's my mentee from Ramon Magsaysay High School. She's very passionate about the sciences also, but right now her undergraduate degree is humanities. So it's a lot of study about history and art because she wants to be a teacher. So we guide young people towards these three. We make them play, we figure out what their passions are so that we get a clue about what they think will be their purpose in life. We actually really guide them step by step along the way. So creative thinking skills will result from the play, passion, purpose triad. They gain expertise also in what they do. They acquire intrinsic motivation because they like what they're doing. They become courageous risk takers, and they become very persevering. When they fail, they get up again. Fail early, fail often. This is what some young innovators in the Silicon Valley would say, iteration. So they just repeat things in their heads. It doesn't mean that they failed, but they're learning. No? Hindi po sila nadi-discourage. And that is actually sometimes the issue here. When kids get discouraged, we have to be very supportive of them. And among teachers and mentors, we have to show them that we actually really do care, and that we are really concerned about how they become professionals later on, honing their talents. So in the family is actually where they learn to be themselves, because we talk to them. Healthy self-talk. So when they make a mistake, we say, "Oh, you made a mistake." We don't say, "Ay, ang bobo mo naman," no? Or it's good that they start to say, "Oh, I like myself," no? And instead of them saying, "Ah, no one likes me," no? Or it's good that we teach them to say, "I did something bad," instead of saying, "I'm a bad person." Or they say, "This is really hard, but I'm going to keep trying," instead of the child saying, "I'll give up. I'll never be able to do this." So there are always these ways, no, of changing the narrative, changing the mood, having the style of parenting. So here we see little kids, no, really concentrating on their game, no, and you see them there as if they're very purposeful. They're curious, and they're playing, but then you see them so intent. They're very passionate about it, and later on they're going to be full of purpose because they want to win. So this is really the place. No, the house is really the ambiance for lifelong learning. This is what we call training in human virtues. No? These are character qualities, no, going beyond natural temperament or personality. Virtues are acquired through repeated acts. They become good habits. No? So the family is a natural organization where there is a sharing of the most profound and specific part of the person. That is his intimacy. So in the family, persons are accepted as they are. No? And they are accepted for who they are, and not because of what they have or what they can do. They know that people just love them for who they are. No? Very unlike society and maybe in the workplace, the office, say, ano bang nagagawa ng taong yan? Paano ba siyang makakatulong dito sa organisasyon natin? But in the family, it's not like that. We welcome our children for who they are. Now, they were born in this world for a purpose, and we love them for who they are and what they're going to be. And the school, ideally, must have a culture that is supportive of the parents and the family. So this is the ambiance for the lifelong learner. We train them in freedom, and we actually try to help them freely do good deeds. And when they are able to do it on their own repeatedly, then that's when it becomes a virtue. No, but we also have to train these kids po talaga in freedom, and say that ikaw bahala ka, ano ba talagang gusto mong gawin, no? Because sometimes they say this suppresses creativity or spontaneity. No, pero okay, let the child be and make him think. Ano ba talagang gusto mong gawin? Gusto mo ba ito or ito? Minsan kasi sabihin natin, ay wag yan, no? Bawal yan. And so we sometimes fail to actually instill that right way of deciding, that skill of prudence, or making good use of their freedom. So they have to be aware and have the knowledge of the good, and the child has to have options. So if we do not tell the child how to do things and what are the good things that he should do, chances are he'll miss the point. Sasabihin niya, hindi ko naman talaga alam ito na lang gagawin ko. Pero yung gagawin niya na yun yung mali. Bakit? Kasi wala siyang choice. Walang nagsabi sa kanya, hindi siya naturuan. So it's very important here that, of course po, we know, even in the emotions, so the physical aspect, emotional aspect, the mental aspect, the spiritual aspect, we know what is good for each of these aspects. What a tall order it is to be a parent. But parents, we all have, well, for one, we have God's grace, for our roles, for our tasks as parents. And right now, how wonderful it is, that we are in our homes, to really try to get to know our children better and become teachers for them. We will be always their teachers. Their first teachers are their parents. No? So we train the potentials, no, in young people. No, so let's just make a recall again. The ambiance for the lifelong learner in terms of the virtue. So 1 to 7 years old, they are encouraged to learn obedience, sincerity, and order. Minsan, natatanda ko, palagi akong sinasabihin ng nanay ko, nag-toothbrush ka na ba? Matutulog ka na? Inayos mo na ba yung mga gamit mo sa school? Tapos makalat, no? So, paulit-ulit, no? Tapos after a while, you see that, the child already acquired the habit of picking up his things and all that. 8 to 12 years old, it says here, fortitude, perseverance, industry, patience, responsibility, justice, and generosity. I'm following a book called Character Development by David Isaacson. If you want some questions about where I get my bibliography, please pass them on po to Danielle of Vibal, and I can show you po these materials. You can also contact me in my page. But these are actually virtues that our child from 8 to 12 years old can already imbibe, can already learn. To be brave, to be persevering, to be hardworking, to be patient, to be responsible, to be generous. No? So we have to really have a lot of hope, no, in our children. So I'd like to show you some of these. This is Paula and Princess. I used to run also like a girls' club. A long time ago when I first taught elementary school, which was my very first job, I like bringing these people to service projects to help like poor communities, no, in the province of Iloilo City. No, so there they are trying to help out, and here they are now. They're the ones, they're carrying the pail there, and then this is Princess and this is Paula. Paula now has her family. Princess is now a young professional, and then we see them grow, no? But I observe them. In the kiddie club, they love to dance. They were in our plays. No, I direct them in theater, little theater projects, and they remember it. No, and they still call me teacher. But that's form bonds with his children because you want to see them grow. You want to see them bloom. No, you want to see them progress. No, in all of these 5 aspects. No, including the spiritual. So right now, these girls are actually very successful in their lives as family women, as professionals. No? Okay, so what about 13 to 15 years old? It says here that they can already learn modesty, moderation, simplicity, sociability, friendship, respect, and patriotism. 16 to 18 years old, they can learn prudence, which is to be mature in their decisions in life. That's already possible, 16 to 18. They can be flexible. They can be more understanding. They can learn loyalty. They can be audacious. Huwag po nating pagbabawalan pag kunyari masyadong talkative, ano po. Kasi baka po maging speech writer pala siya or talaga pong magiging announcer siya sa TV or sa radio, no? We welcome all their propensities, no po. And then they can also learn humility and they can learn optimism. These are for the 16, 18 years old. This I also got from Pinterest. No? Virtues and vocabulary. They can actually be fused. 13 to 15-year-olds, no, they can already learn these words, no, under knowledge, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. No? Verbs for critical thinking. Because medyo kalakip din po nito yung mga values or virtues na pwede nilang matutunan. No? So it's very important that young people right now can articulate, no, what's happening to them. And siguro po at times we really need to sit down with them, kausapin po natin sila, no, and ask them what's been going on in their brains, no. Maybe after watching a movie or listening to a piece of music, we can talk to them na ano sa tingin mo yung nangyari dyan? Ano bang lessons niyan? No, because sometimes they don't have people to talk to, no, and they can't seem to process precisely what is happening in themselves. It's very important that we help them to process, no, to make them analyze, you know, exactly what is happening to them, why they're feeling that way. Okay, so now we go to the 5 skills that kids can learn at home. which later on will be demanded of professionals. And say, how can I prepare my child for the future, no? As parent, as a parent, or as parents? So I said this already in my first talks, my first two talks. So you have these 5 skills. Now they have to be creative. They have to do design thinking, computational thinking, communication, and collaboration. So right now, I will be going through the 5 of these skills because last time, pinasadahan ko lang po. Now, what do these skills mean? Because dati po alam natin, problem solving, or maririnig po natin, analyzing, no? Or mga ganyan. Pero anong ibig sabihin ng design thinking? Why is computational thinking important? Etc. Creativity has become a byword these days. No? How creative are we to come up with a new PPE, or when are we going to get the vaccine from a very creative scientist? No? But creativity is a very rich concept. No? I am in the creative industry. I do creative direction in our little firm. We have a digital media studio. We do animation. We also sometimes make apps or websites. Ano po. And there's a lot of like brain work for me as creative director and my artists. No? There's a lot of collaboration. And so creativity is a lifestyle. That is what I always tell my students. It's 24/7. It's either you're creative or you're not. And if you follow po my discussion, creativity actually starts from the backyard. When you start to plant seeds, when you start to follow up a worm that you see in the soil, when you start to look at the sky, when you start to look at nature. I have nothing po against our gadgets and like all these computer games, but there's really nothing like, as I was saying before, like the tangible things that the child can hold in real time and not virtually. I believe that this was personally how I managed to like have creativity. So these are some words that are associated with creativity. This is creative play. So as you can see, ito pong isang picture natin dito. You have there parang the doctor is in, tapos parang may doll, and then this little boy is acting like a doctor. No? How wonderful could that be, especially with a pandemic, no? And the new normal. The children are able to figure out for themselves what life is about with other children. Of course, it's a little bit sad that there's social distancing, no? But well, they can also have this at home, especially if they're brothers and sisters. You see, they can play on their own like that. No? And then it's good to really surround them with tools, no? Tools of the trade, tools of the artist, tools of like a lawyer. Have some books at home. Make them see that you're actually looking at something informative, the news, or something scientific, the new findings about the coronavirus. No? That will precisely lift their interests, and not just, we don't just stay in like very sometimes trivial matters. No, okay lang naman din po yon every once in a while. But then we also try to see how we can level up, and look at let's say art, painting, sculptures. Why? Because as a humanities teacher din po, this was how I began art. It's very important that the visual intelligence is also honed, educated. The sense of sight, the sense of hearing, the sense of touch, the sense of smell, the sense of taste. This is how Leonardo da Vinci became Leonardo da Vinci, because he's so much in touch with his sensations, like his senses. And so it's good for a child to be able to hold a pencil, color this and that, paint, cut paper. And then I also give a lot of importance to reading books, because this is how they are able to concentrate also on one thing at a time, on something, like one subject at a time. Because sometimes pag masyadong maraming nakikita on the screen, medyo minsan nadidistract po yung mga bata. So, I have really nothing against the digital, right? But we also first have to teach them how to be learners so that there's less distraction from the many things that they see in the interface. Okay, what about computational thinking? I remembered saying this before. Computational thinking deals with these four, and let me just go back to let me say it here. So the child would need to know how to also see patterns and recognize patterns, no? Observe patterns and trends in data. That's the one in violet. But then the child also has to learn decomposition, breaking down data and problems into smaller parts. The child also has to learn algorithm, determine what steps are needed to solve a problem. And abstraction, remove details and extract relevant information. So, marunong po siyang pumili dahil sinanay po natin din yung bata na malaman kung ano ba yung mga importanteng bagay ang kailangan niyang intindihin at hindi lang yung sa maramihan. Ano po? So here, the computational thinker is strong on logic, evaluation, algorithms, patterns, decomposition, and abstraction. And what are the activities that a child can have? So I have a student right now. His name's Paulo. Paulo Espiritu. He likes robotics, and I remembered seeing it in his Facebook. He said that he likes to tinker. Yun nga po, yung parang pinagbubugbog ng mga parts para malaman, no, where is the piece of the puzzle? Where does it have to go to? The child also, because of his computational thinking skills, can create. No? He can design and make things. And then he's also good at debugging or finding and fixing errors. These are actually skills of scientists and engineers. Ano po? Then they're also very persevering. They don't slacken or they don't quit in a project. These are computational thinkers. And they're also very good collaborators. So in a world of, like so many transactions and so many comings and goings, computational thinking would be very useful for our child to learn. Playing sungka is also very computational thinking. They'd have to strategize like exactly how many shells are gonna fall in each round that they do it. So very logical. There's a lot of algorithm and pattern finding. So sometimes we think that anyway, yung bata kailangan computer games. Well, not all the time po. I am very much an advocate of Filipino games. So most importantly, I'm very keen about saying this. We have to develop our child's brain, our student's brain. It doesn't always have to redound to the tools. The child has to have an Android phone. The child has to have a computer, a laptop, or a PC. Now, first, they have to be able to maximize the use of their mental powers, their mental capacities, just as here I illustrate. So creativity, thinking, they know to imagine, they know how to imagine. So this is actually, I'd like to think she's now a good friend of mine. We've recently reunited online. Her name is Xing Miao. We met in Harvard University po when I toured the Museum of Scientific Instruments there po when I had the research on innovation. And right now, Ching and I, we are reunited and we are talking about her projects. We talk about my projects also on our concerns, especially in agriculture, farming. How can technology be more of service to food technologists and all that. So Ching is a very talented young girl. So she studied history of science in Harvard. That was when we met. She was a student assistant. She was a student assistant in the Scientific Instruments Museum. And just yesterday we talked, and she is on her way to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology to study business management. So we met once, but we continue to keep in touch. And she told me that one of these days we are going to have some kind of online discussion with some of her friends now in these Ivy League schools. And I was thinking, this is fascinating because we can exchange ideas about the concerns of the Philippines, no? Our, like our discoveries also here in the sciences, and we can exchange ideas even online. That's what's fascinating about technology, and it really connects people. Now, design thinking, if the parents are curious about this, it's actually used in business. Siguro po sa umpisa, medyo, we're uneasy, but it all boils down to these five. Actually, they're just five brain activities. Ano po? So, kung titingnan po natin, nakalagay dito, identify. Ito po yung start niya. Ano? So, we try to, ito po, empathize. Ito po. So, sasabihin natin, ano ba ang problema? This is now the new way of young people. This is like their new way of now solving problems. Design thinking, it's called. So, first, they have to relate to the problem. No? So, kailangan may puso rin po yung mga bata ngayon, at hindi po sila detached from problems. Kawawa naman yung tao, gusto ko siyang tulungan. And then after that, pag po nakarelate sila sa problem, which should be natural to all of us, no, that we help people with problems, no, as much as we can. Then we try to define the problem. Try to define the problem, come up with ideas for it, maybe solutions to it, and we start to ideate. What could be possible solutions to this problem? After that, we can start to experiment by coming up with a prototype for that, to solve prototype of the solution to the problem. And from that, something will evolve. And perhaps if we're successful, then that can really be a solution to the problem. This is a skill that young people, they will realize later on in college that they need. And siguro po, for the parents at home, why don't you just read a little bit more on design thinking? It's a new way of looking at problems in the world today that tries to combine creativity, collaboration, computational thinking. At lahat na po yung mga sinabi ko kanina. It's a new way of problem solving. It's called design thinking. Now, this is my illustration for design thinking. If you, the child can start be a design thinker just by playing SIPA. And ito po, kung makikita niyo po yung mga kalaro niya, yung iba hindi nila maintindihan kung bakit siya ay magaling. Ito po mukhang nakasimangot. Pero ito pong iba, parang masyado silang natutuwa. He has a way of manipulating that SIPA, and everyone is observing. This is very collaborative on the part also of the observers. And our problem solver here is trying to figure out what the best way of maybe positioning his foot so that he can hit his SIPA. To me, this is already the beginning of explorations in design thinking. Why? Because even the physical aspect of the child is involved. And as much and so far as all of his being is concerned, and all of his faculties are moving, and so far as that is happening, I think that he indulges more in an enriched sort of experience. Yan lang po yung gusto ko rin sabihin dito, na hindi po all the time kailangan na sa digital. But there are really a lot of ways by which we can engage a young mind. A young mind. Ito lang po yung gusto kong sabihin dito. So anyway, if you'd like to have a review of these slides, I can definitely share them with you. Now, here's an example for communication. I gave this before as a talk. When we have to actually train our child to be like our contestant, Catriona Gray. She is intensely in the situation, kabadong-kabado po siya, at marami po siyang mga kalaban. But in a moment of truth, she's able to open her mouth and answer a question. What is your opinion on the legalization of marijuana? And she's able to nail it down. Our child, the child of the future, our children should be the same way. It doesn't mean that they have to be a Catriona Gray. but they should be able to express themselves in the most stressful situation or an intense moment. No po. That to me is a communicator. No? Hindi po siya nahihiya. He wants to say his ideas. No? And wants to reach out to the world, just like Catriona Gray. That's why ito po yung aking example. Um, and then what did she talk about? Well, our contestant talked about the Philippines. So what's very important today is that our kids are able to also communicate with the rest of the world, and that he or she can also identify with fellow Filipinos. What do they talk about? Maybe they talk about other cultures, no? But the Cultural Center of the Philippines actually came out with a wonderful, wonderful project called the Encyclopedia of Philippine Art. If I'm not mistaken, it's 10 thick volumes talking about Philippine music, Philippine theater, Philippine visual arts. No? And perhaps we have failed to catch up with this news, but it's good to, to also explore this knowledge, because as I had said, my my peg na po, yung inspiration ko is Catriona Gray, how she is able to communicate with the world, no, about the Philippines, no, by opening her mouth, no, by intelligently answering the question, and by expressing herself in her language, no, even in her body language. Now, well, this is another student of mine, Roland. He is currently my student at the Asian Institute of Management, or I asked him permission if I could give him as an example. He is from the Mapua Institute of Technology, Mapua University. For quite a while, I had been teaching there. Actually, I taught there for almost 10 years. And my observation about scientists, young scientists, young engineers, is that they can be very shy. No? Ayaw po nila masyadong magsalita unless you pull out their tongues. But Roland here is a chemical engineer, and I think he has another degree. And I realized later on, I didn't know he was from Mapua, but he actually is a debater, and he's very, very good in speaking. And I was thinking, how can we have more engineers who can speak like Roland? No, well, his secret is that he joined a club. He joined an org called the Debate Club. So yeah, if there's anything that our scientists and our young engineers, how do I know? Because I've been teaching engineering school for 10 years. What did I teach? Communication. Many of them are shy. They'd rather not talk. They'd rather just do the research. But what a difference it can make if our kids, no, are more expressive. Roland right now he has I think he has 2 companies. He's a startup founder. And look at that. He represented the Philippines recently in the United States. Children can also be very communicative if they read. That is a tried and tested theory of mine. Writers, no, after they read a lot, this is my this is my this is my belief. No, it's not just my belief. I've experimented on it. A student of mine who reads a lot, can also write very well. No? So there you are, the habits of a strong writer. If we can take a look at that, it says writes and reads every day, keeps a writing journal, has friends, read their writing, stays on task during writing time, writes and reads a variety of books, takes risks, and jots down ideas for writing projects. A child today who will not be able to write a decent email or compose a letter should be doing more exercises in writing. It's also good to be able to expand vocabularies. That they know English, they know Tagalog. In fact, a third language is encouraged right now. Why? Because the 5th skill is collaboration. Look at all those people they need to be collaborating with a click of the gadget. So look at that, collaboration. They're very intent on this game of Spider. Look at the collaborative effort there among these friends. Collaboration will not be collaboration if we do not acknowledge the role of the authority. Usually we have our teacher there, or a leader in the group, that you collaborate with, and we have to acknowledge their presence. No? We can't always be throwing, the kids cannot be throwing their weights around all the time and saying, mas magaling ako, alam ko yan, I have all this information. But they should be able to acknowledge that some people are mature than them, maybe in outlook and all that. So humility was earlier mentioned as a virtue that the kids would need to develop. So social skills, the home as school. Our first school is the home, according to a lady, Martha Stewart, who is a home management guru. So these are social skills that our kids need to learn. Getting along with others, expressing ideas, feelings, and thoughts, taking responsibility. So many here, and it's nicely illustrated. Taking turns, staying calm in time of stress. These things that we can actually figure out what the kids can do these days as activities for social skills. Collaboration is very important today. Our children would have to know how to make friends, talk to other people, and not just stay alone in a corner or with their cell phones, or maybe with their earphones, detached from the world. They should be able to know how to talk. They should be able to know how to socialize. Okay, I hope I'm not running out of time, but earlier there was a delay, but I'd like to move on to the teacher as coach. Teacher can also be there for play, passion, and purpose. Right now, this is the new normal. Face-to-face learning has been is now with online learning. So there is what you call blended learning. And here is our student who is now manipulating all this data, and we as well, are faced with these types of tools, and we have to know how to maneuver ourselves with in blended learning. To face our computer, we have to face our iPad or our cell phones. Blended learning. But we're all in it together. We're all in this together, and we need to cope. A note here on hypertext and hypermedia. So what we see there on the screen, is a combination of words and pictures. Words and pictures. So the words are all interconnected. You click something. What is Black Lives Matter about? So you click Black Lives Matter, and it's going to lead you to another website, a website that discusses something about social justice, and then you read the article on social justice, and then pagkatapos po nun, meron namang link at sasabihin, read more on justice, not social justice, but maybe justice in general. So hypertext, marami po niyan sa internet, marami pong nagkakahalo-halo ng mga ideas ng mga words na linked, Now, kung meron pong words, meron din pong mga images, and that's what you call hypermedia. So if you look at a website, a landing page of a website, there's so many things happening. So you have text, you also have audio, you have image, you have video, you have moving graphics. So it's very fascinating. See, that's the reason why I really advocate offline learning, because it goes without saying that your child, I've said this before, before he faces the computer, he should already have had some kind of established skills to be able to confront hypertext and hypermedia. Kasi po, pag hindi po ganon, we run the risk of the child being lost in information that doesn't matter. So dapat po yung child, sinabi ko na kanina, yung yung computational thinking, he learns to see patterns. First, he needs to be creative. Then he has to know computational thinking. And then there's design thinking. So what does this all redound to? The idea is that when a child faces the interface, the computer, his Android phone, he should know what he's looking for. Now, what information are you looking for? Are you always just looking at entertainment? Or maybe, sad to say, sometimes they fall into reading fake news. So there was a time I I was collaborating with a grade school, and then they asked me, "Can you tell us more about fake news?" Why would I have to tell you about fake news? I don't buy fake news. I have an idea about what fake news is, but then why do I have to spend time reading fake news when I know it's fake and there are other things I need to read about? So, ganun din po tayo no, sa mga bata kasi ang dami na nga po nilang kailangang alamin. Siguro po, kailangan po i-guide natin sila para yung time po nila, hindi nila ginagamit para alamin yung mga hindi naman kailangang alamin. Um, so that's what all the skills are for. Creativity, first the child needs to know what really is fascinating, where the problems are, and he wants to be there to be able to solve them, to help the world solve these problems. No? So it's a tall order, no? Pero well, that's the new normal. So look at that, no? When he is in the landing page of a website, he has so many of these things that he sees. No, what is that? That he clicks there and here. Now, if you don't know what you're looking into, you're going to be lost because of all the color. They call it seductive interaction design. There's so much of interaction happening, all at once. So how do you know what to click? And that's when we start to waste time because we don't exactly know what we were looking for. The difference between multimedia and hypermedia is seen here in this illustration. I teach among multimedia students. Multimedia are all the new art forms using the computer, music, digital film, and all that. No, hypermedia is different from multimedia because hypermedia is all in the virtual. They're there. You're manipulating data that is in the internet, for example, or they're found in your laptop. The software gives you all this data and information, and you can't touch them. They're data that is digitized. So hypermedia is all this information around us that are registered in the internet, in cyberspace that you can access to. We should be able to know how to deal with hypermedia, as well as multimedia. So a teacher has a really tall order. I'm looking at my time now. Blended learning teacher would have to know classroom culture, classroom management, classroom technology, assessment and analysis, and planning delivery, because of the advent of all these new tools. So what is my classroom culture going to be? How am I going to be managing my classroom? My classroom? What technology will I use? How am I going to be grading them? And how will I be preparing my syllabus? So all happening at once. Now, I suggest that all our teachers would have to take time out during the pandemic to, at least we have time to learn what to do. So the teacher as coach, why do I say this? Because I foresee that the teacher will no longer be giving out information because information can all be found in the fingertips of our children, of our students. They're in the internet and they see all the definitions of something they want to know. So if you try to take a look at my diagram, there's an integrative approach to coaching. What is a coach? A coach is there to rally behind the kid. He's not there to dictate. Just like a coach in basketball, we already see the players there in the field, and the coach just calls them every once in a while to tell them that you're doing it wrongly this way. But the coach is not in the court; he is outside the court, looking at what's happening. And so the teachers will be the same. We used to rule the classroom. I had a hard time before with outcomes-based education, and there I am. I'm no longer going to be a lecturer. Because we see that lecturer wields power. Everyone's looking at you, but it's different now. It's our students who will really be standing in front of us, talking to us about how they're solving problems. So there's an integrative approach to coaching. We have now become just coaches. We are not players. We know already what is happening because we've studied that. We are now passing the ball to the court of our students. Why? Because we believe that they can, with all the information that they have around them, solve the problem. Okay, so we just need to know how to do the coaching. So this diagram gives you that. It says, first we need to know what we're focusing on. So here it says problem focused, And then there's insight focused, person focused, and solution focused. So all of that in one circle. What's in focus right now? And we are, as teachers, trying to challenge, trying to explore, support, and suggest things to our students. No? So the student is actually right here in the middle. He's trying to solve a problem. He has an insight, and he is there, and we are, and he's trying to also focus on the solution. And there we are outside trying to see how we can help him. We are really not inside of this, but we are here, challenging, exploring, supporting, and suggesting. Coaching on creativity can be very complex. Maybe that could be another lecture of mine next time. And so here I give an example of coaching, mentoring, and counseling. These are three different things. A coach basically questions to check learning, while the mentor questions to stimulate growth. The counselor questions to raise awareness. So let's focus on the coach. The coach, the teacher, is more concerned about the learning. What is he studying? Is it math? Is it history? Is it art? So learning. He's asking him questions. Then he gives feedback on performance. And then there are just some overlaps here. But there are some same core skills, because a counselor, a mentor, and the coach are all concerned about a person, the person that they're trying to teach. But the teacher is no longer a lecturer. The teacher is a coach, with blended learning. Using this blended learning. So we have to be right there, with our students, because they might also be having a hard time focusing on solutions. And we are also there to coach them in their attitude towards problems. So are they bossy about the problem, or are they a natural leader, manager, and director? Are they defiant about the problem? Then they have to be more bold and determined. So teacher also acts like an attitude coach, because that's how we will be. We cannot just rattle off facts from a book. Why? Because some problems are new, and sometimes the kids are like they're lazy, or they're depressed, because not depressed, but they're sad because they have to face a problem they've never faced before. But that's the new normal. We have new problems. So we check on their attitude towards problem solving also. Are they bossy? Are they defiant? Are they demanding? Are they dramatic? On one hand, there are also solution-focused attitudes. So we can check out this table. So teacher as coach, very nice. There's a heart over there. First, we have to be a coach right there in the heart. The coaching spirit. So kailangan po natin tanggapin na, hindi na ako sa harapan ng classroom, hindi na talaga ako ang boss. Ang boss ngayon ay mga bata, dahil talagang sila na, alam na po nila rin ang dapat nilang gawin kasi may information. The question is, do they have the right information? Do they know how to mix information so that they'll be able to come up with the right solution? So we are actually there with that kind of challenge right now. Kasi first, we have to really know what the subject is about for us to be able to manipulate the subject. So it goes without saying, we are prepared to come to class or to go online teaching, and so on and so forth. So you can look at this, everyone, the coaching spirit. So a mentor is different. A mentor is different. 10 reasons why mentoring works. The mentor is more for their life skills, not really like knowledge, their careers or professional expertise. The mentor is more there for their life skills. So there is a difference. So that's why I said teachers as coaches of learning, knowledge acquisition. This is my mentee, Angela. I think I showed her picture before. So she was my grade 5 student. This is Angie. I asked her permission if I could put her face here. This is her mom. I remember talking to Mrs. Aninao. When I'd see Angie, when she was in grade 5, her eyes would always lit up when the teacher entered. She's always like excited to learn, excited to be getting all that. I asked her mom recently, and she said that the very young age, Angela was deprived of a cell phone. She was also not so. She was not encouraged to watch TV, and she was always surrounded by well, a lot of books and that things to tinker on. Angela is now well, an executive for Canon, and every once in a while would go to the headquarters in London. But Angela is really fascinated with science and management. Graduated at Ateneo de Manila. But we met in Iloilo City at the Philippine Science High School. She was actually my student also in grade school. And we've become friends, and I've seen her grow. And yeah, and have monitored how she has become such a learner, because it really started from the house, encouraged by her teachers in Philippine science, and success story. And so I give you these notes because I still have a topic that I will tackle before, well, I hope Vibal gives me up to 6 o'clock. Coaching against mentoring. Well, this is really like some kind of tie-up between a coach, teacher, and a mentor, like maybe a professional who helps a young person, say even in the office, like you have junior executives being mentored by senior executives. That can happen. We can check this. So there you go. Coaching has a set duration, maybe 3 months, because that is the length of the semester. Meanwhile, a mentor is there all throughout the college years of the student. The coach is task-oriented. Is it a task for math? Is it a task for English? Meanwhile, a mentor is there, and it's a relationship-oriented. Like a mentor is a friend, but encourages the student to move on with college. You can be a successful engineer or a successful teacher. So a coach is short-term for as long as you're the English teacher for the SEM. So you are a coach. You see, we're no longer called teachers, but we're called coaches. Mm-hmm. And look at that. You're performance-driven, you're focused on achieving goals, focused on specific development areas, focused on instructing, and you're focused on behavioral transformation. If you have questions on this, please do not hesitate to contact me and say, why had I become a coach? It's like a coach in basketball. Parang ganun na nga po, pero kailangan po na matutunan po natin ito. And last but not the least is my topic on school as an innovation hub and lab. It can be a hub, it can also be a lab. Those are two different things. So this was our classroom in the old normal. No? What can a classroom new normal look like? This one. Okay, you have a few chairs and they're all colorful. It's like a preschool classroom. But this is one of the satellite offices of Google. Google also calls its office a campus, because they'd like to think that their employees are still students, lifelong learners. So why do I say that this is how the classroom of the future will look like? Well, if you look around you, the ones who are really at the forefront of our knowledge consumption are the ones from Google. And so, of course, we will imbibe some kind of attitude from these people who are actually there in a way on top of technology that we consume, and the hardware, software, and all these data that we take in every day. So can you just imagine the influence that these tech companies and these technologists will have on us? So that's my theory. You can refute me, you can ask me, but look at how playful this office/campus has become. And so we recall what I've said. We've gone full circle about play. Earlier, when the kid was still at home, did we surround him with color? Did we let him explore what is there around the house? and to get into the, the into fresh ideas and non-conventional ideas. That is Google. It's very, very non-conventional. So this wasn't their old classroom. Now this is the new classroom. And you say, that's the new classroom. Everyone's lounging around. Where's the teacher? Everyone is self-motivated. Everyone is ganado. They're there for 10 hours just studying. They are self-propelled. They love the subject because they're passionate about it. You see, there is a way of actually forming a new generation of people who will rule their lives, shall we say. They're not controlled by, say, tiger moms or, say, tiger teachers. No, but they are there, purpose driven. They are there to help the world. They are there to discover the vaccine for a future pandemic. But can you just imagine how creative these people are? So I'd like to predict that this is going to be the new classroom, since we are all very influenced by technology and these technology companies. This is from Nurturing Early Learners Curriculum, Arnell. So little kids, K-12, these are now the new, expectations in the curriculum. Language and literacy, discovery of the world, aesthetics and creative expression, numeracy, motor skills development, social and emotional development. Do we see their math, science, and the usual subjects? Well, not really. Why? Because it's a more holistic approach to the learner, the learning experience for persons, for little kids. So look at that. I think when we know how to be in the digital consciousness of the digital natives, then they will be very excited to learn. And so that falls in, that is now, I don't say it's a problem, it's a challenge to all of us teachers to figure out how precisely to involve them, to engage their minds in this, in the fourth industrial revolution, beyond the new normal. So to me, I advocate these. I'm so sorry, but this is really what I'm passionate about, that the kids get in touch with their culture and go back to the usual ways by which we learned before technology came in. Why? Because sooner or later they're going to be with technology. And before they're faced with it, we have to make sure that the most elementary skills of reading, writing, speaking, we're in its place. They are the foundations with which our kids will be able to manipulate hypertext and hypermedia, or multimedia, and all the rest of the digital techniques, the digital information that they have to know. There's just so much. And so if our kids lose their childhood so soon, that is sad. Sungka, for example, can help in computational thinking. Even the playing of marbles, Holland. The sarangola can, catapult the mind of the child into creative heights. Luksong tinik for design thinking. Patentero also for design thinking. You see? So I don't know where these, Filipino games had gone to. So I really believe that there are still some activities out there we've not explored for the imagination to grow: negotiation, questioning, empathizing, storytelling, connecting, creativity, and design. And I see it happening here at home, when the kids explore what's in the backyard, what they can do maybe with a small playground they've created for themselves and their siblings, their cousins. So the Innovation Hub, or the school, the new school, will have these as priority: fostering connectedness, future-ready students, going back to the 5 skills I said earlier: creativity, computational thinking, communication, collaboration, and what other one? Oh, design thinking. Okay, design thinking is that one, integrated learning experience. So it's a whole student development. So everyone, do you see anything there about online or about digitization? Really, nothing yet. No, but the whole hub is digitized. The question is, have our kids, have our students acquired what they really need to acquire as thinkers, as creative brain with creative brains, with like with computational skills. Um, are they with virtue so that they can collaborate with other people, or etc., etc.? But don't worry, everyone. We will get through this. That's why Vibal is here, and also people like us to be able to help each other. Um, so look at that. I put an arrow on the guy. He's there in his office. Actually, this is Google, and he's with a scooter. Google, Facebook, and all the rest of these, like technology hubs. I believe that sooner or later, some of our learning institutions will also have these types of. Maybe some of them already have these types of spaces to trigger creativity. But to me, just by letting the child play in the garden and make him explore, use clay or play with Legos or have your coloring books ready, this already fosters creativity. This is creativity applied. So look at that. Why are they in an innovation hub? They're there to discover new ideas. They are there to invent. They are there to innovate. Tall order. But this is what the schools of the future will be, beyond the new normal, into the new normal. So discovery. So we have yet to discover the vaccine. We have yet to invent it. We have yet to innovate other drugs for the future of humanity. So everything is actually nakasalalay po dyan sa Creative Hub. And so we're also in full support of universities later on who will have these types of approaches, because everything is like a mix of information. What's what? How are you going to be putting things together? So you have to prepare your child from the home, from the house, asking him, what are you thinking about? Is something that you're thinking important? Are you in information that you think will help you later on in your career as an adult? All that, you see. There's just so many things swimming around in our desktops or in our phone. I'm not going to go through this anymore because there's hardly any time. So you see there, again, this is how they now operate in offices. So just preparing the career. So this is basically how they do problem solving right now. So they would have to, as I said, design thinking, discover the problem, define the problem, incubate the problem, ideate on the problem, evaluate the problem, prototype the problem. So it's like a shell. We start from the middle outside. So first discover, reframe, incubate, ideate, evaluate, prototype, deliver, and then iterate again. Don't worry, everyone. I will, Glenda, the one who keeps on inviting me. Glenda, I'm so sorry to have mentioned your name, but we'd have to have another part so that the teachers will learn more about this. This is I'm about to end. This is the lab. This is the first time I saw a hub, an innovation hub in Harvard Engineering. So this is how their classroom looks like. Can you imagine this circle thing? Well, sometimes it's turned into an event place. So it's like that, very unconventional, no, like that. And then you have there people talking. The teacher is here seated. He's just listening to his students. He doesn't lecture. He just coaches all the time. And that's Harvard Engineering. They're supposed to learn math and all that. I don't know. I think they learn the basics. This is already in senior year. But this is how I envision the future to be. And all because things have gone digital. And this is where their minds go to. How can businesses be transported online? Sorry about that. Learning how to create the interface matched with the user experience. And at the helm of the future will be people from the computer science, information technology, computer engineering, but we will help them with the other courses that they need to get into, like art, sociology, philosophy, and all. It's still going to be the same approach, but maybe learning styles are different. Work styles are also different. So look at this. This is how I envision a classroom to be. Not so many chairs because new normal. And you have there the blackboard is full of doodles, creativity. And then there, I don't know what that is, but to me, those are just materials for them to manipulate and all that, some kind of innovation space. We will have more of these types of classrooms. And then there, I can just imagine how I think some cafeterias are beginning to look like this. This I think is, I think it's in the US. But this one, I found this and these are Filipinos in a working space. I just don't exactly remember where it is, but I can just imagine a classroom of the future like this. All the students are collaborating because I've done this in my classrooms. And that is me right over there. I am not standing. I am not in the middle of the room lecturing, but I am there thinking along with my students while they are solving problems. Yeah. About what? Society, real world problems. So there they are. It's fascinating. So there's a lot of collaboration happening, all happening at the same time. Communication, support, skills, teamwork, discussion, connection, planning, brainstorming. So where does the teacher to show up? Like, how can she be there? She is well, sorry everyone, but I have to tell you the bad news. You're in the middle of all that. You're in the middle of all that. And so you say, how am I going to be preparing myself for that? Well, for the teachers in college, that's just how it is. K to 12, some things are being reshaped, but we need to prepare for these types of learning environments for our students in the tertiary level. So I think little by little, things are going to be changing. Well, we don't know how yet. I don't want to predict. This is going to be in the new normal / beyond the new normal. That's the teacher there seated. Of course, with social distancing, maybe. This is from just a picture that I got. But I think this will be the maximum number of students in the room. You say, what about the others? Well, they're online, right? Shed and Dex, TESDA, they're already saying that not everyone will be going to one space for now. So ngayon po, parang ganyan siguro muna, no? So new classrooms, maybe like not really inside the classroom, but there are going to be other venues for students to explore the real world. And again, I can predict the classroom of the future will be that, and that is the teacher there. He is just seated with the students, and all he does is to coach them. See, no blackboards, no nothing. The students know he's there, and when they want a question, they will walk to him right over there. But he's expecting that they already know what they're supposed to ask and they have solutions to their problems already. And here is the new classroom. You see not so many people and say, ay, parang living room lang namin yan sa bahay. Precisely. Why? That's why we motivate the students. Again, we go back to play, passion, purpose. And these are the new learning environments in very innovative companies like Google, Facebook, and all that. You see, you're really trying to catch up. You're really trying to reach out to the child, in every person, the passionate person, the purpose driven person. So bumabalik po talaga tayo sa basics, Yan. So dyan ngayon sila nakaupo, Tingnan nyo, talagang relax sila at dyan sila nakakaisip. Ganyan po. Ang nakita ko ang mga ibang classrooms, medyo ganyan na po. At sana naman huwag maging ganito ang future classroom, pero nakakita po ako ng isang office, sila po ay may higaan. So ayun po, siya ay itong lalaking ito, this young man is reading that's his computer. They have their laptops and they're lying down. Well, I don't want to say but that everyone will have a workspace this way, but you can just imagine what's going to happen in the future. I end with some very innovative projects of my students some 5 years ago. Innovation happens in the classroom because you have a creative brain, you have a computational thinker, you have a very collaborative group set of people. And I never stood in front of the class to lecture, but they're the ones who came up with these projects. Hakbang, it's called Trash Count, refining the way you dispose. These are for my students, maybe like around 6 years ago. Multidisciplinary, so you have engineering students with architecture students and multimedia students. So this is their brochure that also went to their website. So how it works, that is the garbage can. Hakbang trash counts, I think you win points by throwing your garbage in these specific slots. So look how very Filipino, we kept on insisting that the Filipino-ness of this comes out. So it says, Hakbang trash counts, refining the way you dispose. Okay, so this 5 years ago po ito, pero well, disposing of garbage is still trending. Ano po? This is the Coral Reef project. They came up with a company called Alon Baybayin Company. These are college students. They say diving into solutions for the underwater world. And they proposed ceramic coral reefs that have been destroyed. They replace with, say, artificial, almost like the real thing, coral reefs, so that the fish will continue to thrive in like destroyed areas of the sea, so that they can come back. The ecology is maintained. So there's a lot of chemical engineering that went up here. Very, very nice campaign. 4 out of 5 people don't know what a coral reef is. They only see them as the beautiful rock formations in our seas. But what exactly is a coral reef? So this is a call to save the coral reefs because many have been damaged by dynamite fishing and all that. No, so here, very nice. These are here are some artists, digital artists, collaborated with some engineers to come up with this 3D 3D representation of the artificial coral reef that they were imagining. Very nice. Material is ceramic with snowflake structure, and the fish can actually thrive in there. This has been United. I'm very proud of my student who came up with this. Is a photographer now working for Cebu Pacific, I think. It's a contraption that actually sanitizes the air. It's called the particulate bin. Very nice. No? These are mechanical engineering students collaborating with architecture students, if I'm not mistaken, civil engineering students. And the brochure was done by their digital artist classmate. The energy storing bike, there's a lot of talk right now about bikes. So this bike, you can charge your cell phone there. We created this like some 6 years ago. And some students are really forward thinkers, very advanced in the way they innovated, ideated in class. So it says the energy storing bike promotes the use of alternative energy sources, reduce traffic congestion to increase productivity, saving by spending less on commute and gasoline, pollution-free environment, healthy lifestyle. Can you imagine, everyone? We did this like some 6 years ago, and it's still trending. No, energy storing. That's how they called it. Charge to your destination. And then they even came up with a quote, because it's a copywriting class as well. I said, nothing compares to the simple pleasure of riding a bike. And a quote from John F. Kennedy. Leg day, every day, conserve energy today. That is the brochure. And yeah, so there you go. That very mathematical analysis of the bike, what it is, and where that energy storing contraption will go. The energy storing bike allows you to, there you go, travel with ease, access electricity while you're outdoors, recharge your personal gadgets, exercise by using a bicycle, avoid pollution, heal your heart, be a hero, and save the planet. My goodness. And then burn your fat and save money. Help improve the Philippines. I wonder, these people are probably around in their 20s, about to graduate. So there they are. These were the very prolific Engineers, young engineers who are about to step out of college, and they thought about this energy storing bike. I can see already the slide is 113 is the end. I'm so sorry, everyone, if I went beyond. And there were many times when the slides were stopping. So if you do not have questions anymore, I remember that if you have some questions, some of you, or did I bore people? So if you do not have questions anymore, everyone, you can channel your questions to Daniel. And you can also get in touch with me if you want to know more about design thinking, or computational thinking, and all. These are really the skills that, well, our students would need to imbibe. Now we need to know in the coming days, years, in the new normal and beyond the new normal. Siguro ngayon, medyo paunti-unti, we can read up on them. Why? Because the whole world is getting into, are already learning those skills, those mental skills. So I think that is it. It says here, okay, so there is a question. There are some questions. It says here, Flora Bell, she says, I like open-ended questions, but my kids answered so briefly. How will I train myself to encourage them to answer more? Flora Bell, that's why I think we need to know how to get curious ourselves. We have to learn how to be curious again, because perhaps if you were with my generation, we were always stopped. Our curiosity was stopped by our teacher. Sabihin, ang kulit-kulit mo, huwag mo nang tanungin yan, no? Or parang, ay nako, hindi ka pa naman matanda, bata ka pa. These things, you know. But that actually inhibits, you know, like the child, you know, and we have to be curious kids again. So I suggest you read on, say, the 7 habits, the 7 ways by which you can be Leonardo da Vinci. You could download it. You can ask me about it. Maybe I'll give it to this group. The 7 ways to genius. Very nice. How do you actually increase your curiosity, your capacity to be curious? How to teach children at home if the parents cannot understand the module given by the teacher? Good question. Yeah, so, well, I think we just have to live with that. The idea is that we are also connected with maybe their parents. Maybe they are just a phone call away, or maybe a text away. I think that can also be, at least temporarily, before we go back on site. And then the schools maybe can also, Ma'am Baigan, think about it. You can also ask your educational institutions, paano kaya namin i-contact yung parent? Kasi parang hindi maintindihan, no? And then, yung mga bata, siguro, pag tinanong naman si mom and dad, baka hindi rin naman alam, ano po. So, pag pupunan na po natin na may isang bata, talagang hindi, baka, you know, can't get passed through a lesson, and maybe we have to contact the parents po, no? How can we encourage our pupils with learning disabilities to be more active at home schooling if their parents are not hands-on in teaching them? I guess this is going to be a campaign. There has to be a campaign on this. I mean, we cannot really just, you know, like put the blame on anyone, tuturuan, kasi ganito, ganyan. Well, we never really knew po na we were going to be in this pandemic. So I think all of us will just have to, you know, journey together in this and collaborate and ask each other for advice, because it's not easy. But as I discovered earlier, there are so many sites online that give suggestions and offer even ideas liberally. Ano po, sa Pinterest na lang, ang dami na pong infographics. And then there are also educational institutions that actually give a lot of advice to parents and teachers. So thank you so much. I went beyond the time. if you have anything po, next time, maybe we can see each other again. Thank you so much po for the patience.